I call Nikki Wagner.
Mr. Speaker, I too want to support the Subantarctic Marines Reserve Bill at its third reading. The Subantarctic Islands are a unique and spectacular natural environment, and the land in that area is already protected under the National Nature Reserve status. But this bill, this legislation, will protect the ocean around that land. The whole area is so spectacular that it has World Heritage status, and this legislation will make sure that these three island groups, the Antipodes Island, Bounty Islands and the Campbell Islands, are able to join with the Auckland Islands in having marine reserve protection. The Auckland Islands were protected in 2003. These new reserves cover an enormous area. It's about 435,000 hectares. And it's a great step forward in protecting our oceans. And it is absolutely in line with National's long-established interest in marine protection. It was the National Government back in 1971 that passed the first Marine Reserves Bill, and that led to establishing the first marine reserve at Lee, just north of Auckland, in 1975. And in those days, that was absolutely groundbreaking legislation and new to the world. That reserve in Lee has gone on to entertain, to educate and to inspire New Zealanders and people that visit our country from that day to this. Currently, New Zealand has 48 marine protected areas, and that covers about 8.2% of our territorial seas. And these new reserves are so big that when they are gazetted, that will increase to 9.5% of our territorial seas. And under our present legislation, we can only create marine reserves in our territorial seas. And there are more reserves to come. Since National's been in government, we've announced 9 new marine reserves, and there's further areas that are beginning stakeholder talks. Because creating marine reserves can be quite difficult for communities. New Zealanders are absolutely passionate about the sea. They love to recreate there, to swim and to fish. And sometimes there's a bit of a difference of opinion where marine protected reserves could be. Of course, we all want to protect the ocean, but maybe the community doesn't want it quite in their own backyard. But we've come up with a new collaborative stakeholder process which seems to make decisions about marine reserves much more palatable and easy to be done. And that was based on the first collaborative approach, which was done by the Guardians of Fiordlands. And it's similar to the collaborative approach that we're seeing in terms nationally in terms of things like the Land and Water Forum, and we're also seeing locally in things like Te Korowhai in Kaikoura, and that's another marine protection mechanism. And basically the strengths of these models is it allows everybody to have a say and for them to work together to create a compromise that works for all stakeholders. And indeed, this bill was passed as a result of a collaborative stakeholder forum with input from iwi, from industry representatives, the scientific and conservation groups, and the general public. And this bill was based directly on their decisions. There was even a compromise written into the bill, for potentially there had been identified the possibility of a commercial deep water crab fishing industry around the Campbell Islands. And so this bill gives a window of time to explore that option. If the evidence shows that a viable, sustainable fishery with minimal impact on the marine environment and ecosystems is possible, the boundaries will remain as stated in this bill. But if not, the reserve will be expanded to take the whole of the territorial sea around Campbell Island. And the Select Committee has ensured that this happens in a timely fashion and that the review must be completed within 5 years of the bill being passed. Finally, I'd like to say that the whole of the Local Government and Environment Select Committee supported this bill. We enjoyed working on it. It was extremely interesting. We believe that we have passed good legislation. We believe it was based on a fair and effective process, and that it will have a valuable outcome for our oceans. My only regret is that we as a committee didn't manage to have a site visit.
David Shearer.
It gives me great pleasure to support this bill and to commend to